from New Zealand to present on New Zealand's experience with geothermal energy projects, including projects undertaken with development partners. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben, and thank you also to the coordinators for convening the meeting and for the invitation to us to present on this. And apologies because of the time differences, you have me presenting rather than experts from the New Zealand end. But this is centred around New Zealand's experience over more than 50 years of our own geothermal energy development, but also working with development partners. And our international development cooperation has largely been focused on the provision and access to services to enable geothermal energy development rather than the provision of technology. So this has more of a services, an environmental services focus. And so the first slide, please, just a little background on New Zealand's own geothermal sector. We have long-standing experience in the exploration and development of geothermal energy, both for electric power production and for direct use application. Exploration for power development in the geothermal sector in New Zealand started in the 1950s, and the first power plant started operating in 1958 at Wairaki in the central North Island of New Zealand. Since then, our geothermal resources have been extensively explored, and geothermal resource now provides approximately 17% of our national grid electricity. We have developed 6 geothermal fields and 18 geothermal power plants with a total generation capacity of 985 megawatts. Through this experience, we've learnt a lot about how to find and safely utilise geothermal energy, manage the resource sustainably, and avoid environmental damage. And that has enabled us to apply this geothermal expertise around the world as part of our international development cooperation. So we're providing geothermal technical assistance and training in Africa, in the Pacific, the Caribbean, and in Indonesia, the latter dating back to the 1970s. Next slide, please. Looking at the life cycle of geothermal energy development, it consists of 3 stages: exploration, encompassing reconnaissance, surface studies, conceptual modelling, test drilling. Secondly, development, including appraisal, feasibility studies, procurement and contracting, production, drilling, design and construction. And then thirdly, utilisation, involving testing, commissioning, operation and maintenance. Our experience has shown that it's critical that environmental and social impact analysis and actions to safeguard environmental and social outcomes should begin from inception and need to be applied and reviewed across all 3 stages of geothermal development. The full duration of a geothermal development project from exploration through development is approximately 8 to 10 years, depending on the political, economic and investment environment, among other factors. And as I mentioned, our experience has largely been focused on the provision of and access to services to enable this development. Turning to some of the examples, in Indonesia, New Zealand and Indonesia have, as I mentioned, been working together on geothermal energy development for more than 50 years, with support for from New Zealand's International Development Cooperation Programme. Engineers from both countries worked together to develop Indonesia's first 30-megawatt geothermal energy plant in the 1970s. Indonesia currently has approximately 2.3 gigawatts of installed geothermal power capacity, providing around 3% of its domestic electricity supply, and has plans to increase this further. Most recently, New Zealand committed a further 15 million to the next phase of geothermal energy investment in Indonesia under a program called the Indonesia Aotearoa New Zealand Geothermal Energy Program. This program is focused on geothermal technical assistance and capacity building, working to support Indonesia to meet its climate change and renewable energy targets. The program has 3 components: It focuses on geothermal energy policy, regulation and planning support, on technical support and capacity building for Government of Indonesia-led geothermal exploration and project preparation, including targeted geoscience support for progressing geothermal exploration projects, and increasing workforce skills and capacity. This includes facilitating vocational courses for geothermal technicians and providing short-term training and workshops. This new program builds on previous investments in technical advice and capacity building for Indonesia's geothermal sector and training. Under previous New Zealand-funded programs, more than 160 of Indonesia's leading engineers and scientists in this area have completed geothermal postgraduate programs in New Zealand. Turning to a second example, in the Caribbean, New Zealand's International Cooperation Programme has been providing technical assistance for geothermal development since 2014 through the Caribbean Renewable Energy Facility. Earlier phases of this facility included investments of 11 million in technical assistance and capacity building support to accelerate geothermal development in the region. The focus of this program, of this facility, is on the Caribbean Commonwealth small island developing states of Dominica, St. Lucia and St. Vincent, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis. Some examples of the assistance have included technical support to the Government of Dominica in preparing the first geothermal power plant in Dominica for commercial development. New Zealand support included feasibility studies, reviewing tender documentation and conducting an environmental and social impact analysis. Construction of the geothermal plant is due to take place soon, and operations are planned to commence from 2025. A second example is the technical support that we have provided to designing a geosmart facility within the Caribbean Development Bank. Geosmart is now a financing mechanism for geothermal development in the region and has attracted more than $150 million in US dollars for future geothermal projects in the region. A third phase of the Caribbean Renewable Energy Facility is now underway, building on this previous support. This third phase commits 11 million New Zealand dollars over 5 years and is currently active in Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia and St. Vincent, as well as supporting work on geothermal energy in key regional institutions such as the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States and the Caribbean Development Bank. Finally, in Africa, the Africa Geothermal Facility was established in partnership with the African Union in 2017. It provides geothermal and technical assistance and training to 11 eligible African countries and supports partners to assess and explore local geothermal resources, increase investment and local participation in the geothermal energy sector. Key achievements under this facility in the last 5 years have included successfully supporting 5 projects across Djibouti and Tanzania to access finance from the Geothermal Risk Mitigation Fund. In Kenya, support for capacity building for steam field operation, engineering and management, enabling the Menengai steam field power plant to be commissioned on time, introducing an additional 105 megawatts of geothermal energy into Kenya's grid in 2022, and online and in-person training in Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Djibouti and Rwanda, covering a wide range of geothermal energy development. So turning to lessons learned from some of this work. Over the 50 years that we've been working in this area, the New Zealand International Development Cooperation Programme has identified the following key areas as vital to successful delivery of technical advisory and capacity building support. First and foremost, our experience suggests it's essential to engage local communities right from the start. To secure community support and license of geothermal development, it's essential that developers apply best practice environment and social safeguards, and that local communities are involved, their concerns understood and well addressed, and that the development provides sustainable benefits for the local community. Secondly, geothermal development requires a very high level of niche technical expertise and a long-term commitment. I mentioned earlier it can take 8 to 10 years from initial resource assessment to first generation of power. And this comes with significant lead times and early stage exploration risks and costs. Our technical assistance has focused on exploration because we've found that the private sector has limited interest in investing in development until potential geothermal prospects have been quantified and de-risked through exploration. Access to finance is a significant hurdle for small island and developing states to progress geothermal exploration projects. Our experience has also taught us that human, technical and financial support is vital for countries to progress exploration and to consequently de-risk potential power projects to enable their commercial development. This can include support with planning and executing exploration programs and interpreting the results, due diligence, feasibility studies and technical assistance. We've also found that training and scholarships have been a very important part in developing the relationships and ensuring the sustainability of geothermal projects and sectors. Postgraduate scholarships and short-term training programs have made a significant contribution to building geothermal sector links with our partner countries. The quality of the technical assistance available to partners for exploration has a big influence on the outcomes achieved, with the right expertise being needed to guide exploration so that good value for money is achieved and results are rightly interpreted and trusted by potential developers. What does this mean, finally, for unlocking the benefits of environmental and economic benefits of the green transition? So first, again, I should note that our experience is almost exclusively focused on the provision of and access to services for geothermal development. We haven't got the experience to comment really on the challenges for countries in accessing geothermal technology. Rather, our focus has been on access to services to unlock the benefits of green transition. As mentioned already, early and ongoing community engagement is critical for securing the social license for geothermal development. In terms of the services, geothermal energy benefits are unlocked by long-term investment in a broad range of services. For example, environmental consulting services, specific scientific and engineering services, aspects of technical training, technical testing and analysis services, services incidental to energy distribution, and I've already mentioned the component of scholarships and training that would come under higher education services. Many of these services, of course, sit outside those that in the WTO we classify as environmental services, yet are integral to the delivery of projects that provide substantial environmental benefits as part of countries' green energy transitions. Access to these services also needs to be available to countries across the life cycle of geothermal energy development. Our experience has shown that projects often go in surges over a long period as finance comes together or as other factors in the community come together. So removing barriers to accessing those services so they can be accessed quickly and easily when the conditions are right, when the finance is available, when the support is there, is also really important to maximize those opportunities so that when the economic, political, environmental factors align, work can be progressed swiftly. So that's a bit of an overview, and I hope that is of interest. I can take questions, but not promise to answer them as expertly as our colleagues in Wellington would. So I can take any further questions and refer them back. Thank you.